Hello everyone, I am Martin Cervantes,
I am Santiago Vasquez, and welcome to the Dot Pod.
where communication truly matters.
We hope you had a great weekend. Today is going to be an amazing day. We have a very special guest, but I don't know, before we introduce this amazing person, we have been talking to her briefly for the last half an hour or so before the show. We had some technical difficulties, but everything is now perfect. I think Martin had something to say.
We had to call our technicians to come and help us out, our engineers, sound effects and lighting and everything else, because we don't understand nothing like this yet. So we're learning. It's a learning process.
For those of you who don't know much about our production company, it's called Empty Wallet Productions. You can see my wallet's totally empty, and the moth is looking straight into the light right
and
now.
sometimes begging
for money. So,
Yeah.
So who do we have today?
We have
Who is this amazing young lady?
We have an amazing young lady, someone that I met, my wife and I met right before our son and daughter-in-law got married. An amazing photographer, just an inspiration to a lot of us. I follow her on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, and it's just an inspiration. It's someone that a lot of us complain of having a bad day. Oh, because we woke up, on the wrong side of the bed, But just listening to her inspires me to do better, to look at life differently, to look at life in a positive way, regardless of what I'm dealing with.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
So who is this person?
Nice.
This person, her name is Ashley Mizell. Did I say it right?
You did.
Oh, yes.
So
Welcome.
let's give Ashley a great round of applause.
Yes. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh,
So-
it's our pleasure.
Ashley, we like to start our podcast by asking the guest, what is your cultural background, your ethnicity?
I am Irish.
Okay.
Why was this a first question?
That's because we don't want people to assume anything about us or about the guest. People come
okay.
from different cultures.
Oh, so you just want
different
me to say
backgrounds.
I'm Irish and I'm white?
Well,
You said it
if that
yourself.
makes you
I
happy.
don't know. Or Caucasian, is that what I
No, Ashley, our guest, lost her vision. And this is one of the reasons why we asked her to be here, to inspire us, to help us see life in a very positive way. But who is Ashley Mizell?
I am a mom. I have 3 little boys, and I have a husband, and I'm a go-getter. I'm blind, but that doesn't mean really much of anything.
Okay, so hold that for a second. You said that you are blind. We're going to get to that. Now, Martin, Mr. C here was telling me that you were a photographer and that you were getting ready to do the photography work for his son and daughter-in-law.
Yes.
And so you were a photographer for how long were you a photographer?
Almost 5 years. I started my business from scratch. I talked my parents into buying me my first camera, and they were like, "Are you sure, Ashley?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just want to try it, let's see if I can do it." And they believed in me, and they bought me my first camera.
Wow. So what type of photography work were you doing?
I did families, I did kids, I loved weddings, parties, retirement parties, anniversaries, basically everything.
And you did this for 5 years.
Yes, it was so much fun.
Prior to this 5 years, you have no experience whatsoever with camera work.
No, I had my son 8 years ago coming up, and I was like, maybe I should start taking pictures of him. I wanted to capture him growing up and stuff. So I got one.
So you became self-taught.
Yeah, I got on YouTube and I just Googled everything, and I learned how to use a Canon camera. I did everything my first 6 months for free, just because I didn't really know what I was doing and everything. And then my first paid session was actually out at Wyandotte County Lake.
Oh, wow.
And I was out on the dock, and I was shooting a maternity session. And I said, okay, y'all, be careful, it's slick. Next thing you know, I fall off with my camera.
Oh my God.
Ruining everything. Oh my gosh, y'all. The guy had to get me out of the water and everything. I was so embarrassed.
You went into the lake.
My whole camera went into the lake. Everything went, and that session did too, basically, that payment. So got back in the car, called my parents, and I was like, I need a new camera.
Well, so you had to start all over again.
Yes.
So we're talking about a very expensive camera here.
Yes.
Wow.
You said it was a Canon. I mean,
Yes.
not a commercial Canon, but...
No, yeah, it was a Canon, and yes, it
What,
was 70D.
70D, okay.
And it went down to the bottom of the lake, and I had my 85mm lens on it, and
Oh.
Wow.
my
Wow.
Uncle Denny, he was actually out there. He could see the whole thing because he owns the boathouse out there. Well, it's Mike's uncle, and they were all just laughing. Oh my goodness, it was funny.
So how do you feel at the time that you lost your...
I was so sad. I had no idea what I was going to do because I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I knew what my purpose was. Like I was supposed to be taking pictures. And then God had this thing happen to me, and I fell in the lake, and I had to start all over.
So you have to start all over again. So I'm assuming your dad, your mom bought you a new piece of equipment, or this time did you have to buy it yourself?
No, my parents, they said we can do it because they knew we had 2 little boys, and my husband, he was working, and I was still working too. And I said, just believe in me, just believe in me. And then I ended up saving up the money. I said, I'll pay y'all back for both cameras. I will do it. And I saved up the money, and I went to go give them the money back, and they said, no, Ashley, like, you can have it. And I was like, that was so nice of them, you know, like, oh my gosh.
Well,
Okay, so obviously you restart again, taking pictures, working weddings. What else other than weddings? What else were you doing?
Family sessions, kids sessions, birthday parties, everything. The engagement session, the last snow session was his son and daughter-in-law. The engagement, it was out at Wyandotte County Lake, and it was in the snow, and it was awesome. She was wearing this yellow skirt. I got to dress her, and they had their dog. It was like one of my favorite sessions. I will always remember. Like,
So did you end up doing the wedding?
I lost my vision.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to actually like contact all my brides because I had all the contracts, and I was really scared to tell them.
Wow.
Super scared.
so that was a life-changing event for you. That was really your job, your income.
Yes.
Just...
My husband was mainly the stay-at-home dad at the time, so he really supported me with my business, and we really focused on photography, and because it was growing so much, and when your career and your passion come together, it's such a beautiful thing. So he was like, Ashley, if you have something that you're so passionate about, like, I'm going to support you, and we're going to do this. And we did for 5 years, and then scar tissue grew over my eyes within 3 weeks.
Okay, so we're gonna get to that about how you lost your vision, the scar tissue. So you are at that time your husband was staying at home, you're working, the business is doing very well. How much money were you making per shoot?
Oh man, for just a little session, I was getting about $250 for just like a little hour session. But for my weddings, I would have about 5 weddings like in October, because people always get married in October. So like October's, I could get around $2,000 a wedding package, if not a little bit more. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, and that was October, November, and then December too. I was shooting weddings.
Wow. So you're doing all this, taking pictures. I'm assuming you're also doing all the technical side, as far as if you have to Photoshop the picture.
Yes. I did a lot of like families that lost children or lost like their spouses. So my husband would actually Photoshop in for me because I'm not really good at Photoshop. I always did Lightroom. So he would always add in like the spirit or the ghost.
Wow.
Wow. To me, it's amazing that in this world of technology that we have today, you can learn so much by looking at a video. You know, I just a couple of weeks ago, because I happen to be cheap, I didn't want to pay for somebody to take my son's car to Honda to get a headlight bulb switch. So I went to YouTube and
Yes.
I learned to do it myself. It was a little bit complicated in the beginning, but then
I'm learning how to replace the blades on my lawnmower. YouTube.
When you get done, come to my house, please.
Yeah, I replaced the headlight on my Impala. YouTube.
That's awesome.
You know, yeah, it is. You know, technology nowadays is just amazing. Remember when you got mail?
Oh yeah.
Right? You waited for 5 minutes for the screen to come on and you start typing whatever, you know. So
listen,
yeah,
I don't know. You might be old. I'm not. Okay, so now, Ashley, prior to losing your vision, was it something that you started to see it progressively, or it just happened suddenly?
I was shooting the cook's wedding and I was taking a picture, and I just was like, I turned to my second shooter and I said, hey, I hope you got that shot, because I sure as heck didn't. Like, something's going on with my eye, you know? And I just kept blinking and I'm like, what's going on? And then the next day I had to put sneak peeks up on the internet and I couldn't do it. I had to reach out and say I have to wait for my second shooter, because I realized like my eyes they just weren't really working.
Did you think it was, what's going on? Do I need glasses, new glasses?
Yes.
Or have you ever worn glasses prior to this?
I never wore glasses before this. I actually had perfect 20/20 vision. I went to the eye doctor and they gave me glasses, and I went on January 9th and he said, if you start to hurt right here, Ashley, it's just from wearing glasses. And I was like, okay, like I had never done it before. Well, I let that go on just a couple weeks, and by the time I went back, I went to a different doctor because I was waking up and this eye was just completely, it was getting more and more layers, or we're getting over it. So I went to the eye doctor, and then.
So was it just one eye that you started seeing blurry, or?
I noticed my right eye the most, and I don't know if it's because that's what I was using my camera. Like my right eye was always my strong eye, so I could tell when it wasn't really working. My eyes, I would look at things very unique through a camera lens, so I could definitely tell when it was going wrong. Like I knew something was really wrong because glasses weren't fixing it.
So obviously you start getting worried about what's going on.
Yes.
And what did you start? Did you start to feel just worried, but did you start to feel desperate, depressed, crying?
I was driving my son to kindergarten and taking Oliver to pre-K, and I ran into a mailbox, ran into the curbs, ran into a big pile of wood, and Bentley just goes, Mom, I don't think you should be driving. Wow. And I was like, you're right, son. So I went to the eye doctor, and they took me back there for my just to get a second opinion, and they sat me there, and I was in the room by myself, and he just goes, oh, hold on, I need to go get somebody, after he looked at my eyes, and I was just like, okay. And then they come back, and she's like, you have like a disease or something behind your eyes. And I was just frozen, like I had the biggest lump in my throat, like everything, and I went into a depression from then.
Wow.
My God. So they tell you that you have a disease behind your eyes. Did they tell you what it was called?
No, they referred me to the KU, and my dad took me there, and we were there for 6 hours straight. And he said, come back the next day. We were so sorry. We have no idea what's going on with you. So my dad was like, Ashley, let's just go back to our house so your mom you can talk to her and see what's going on. And I was like, okay. And then my eye doctor called me about 7:45 that night, and it was like an unknown caller, and I was like, what is going on? And I just taken my sleeping medicine, and he said, I I just can't go to sleep tonight thinking you're going to lose more of your vision, like get to the hospital. And then they admitted me that night and I was there for almost 2.5 weeks.
I KU.
Yeah.
And not knowing what it was.
Yeah, nobody knew anything. They just were doing tests and they just could see scar tissue was growing, had already grown over this eye completely. And this eye, more and more was just growing over it by the day. So they just started pumping me with steroids pretty heavily.
So you are at KU for 2 weeks, and during these 2 weeks, they are yet to find out what's going on with you.
It was right before I was leaving, they diagnosed me with sarcoidosis.
Sarcoidosis.
Yes.
And what is this?
It's an autoimmune disease. It normally attacks your lungs or your brain in your eyes. It doesn't normally affect a lot of people with the eyes. I was just one of the few that it affected the eyes.
And do they know what causes it?
They say like it's sometimes you breathe in stuff and it's just certain things in the air that your body reacts to and it just doesn't like.
No, when the scar tissue was growing over your eye, do you feel anything? You feel any type of sensation, anything growing around your eyeball?
I just felt constant, like my eyes were like exhausted, like just they hurt like crazy, and I could not figure out why. Like, and it was all throughout here, and it was just a crazy pain.
Were you having headaches?
Yes, I had constant headaches. I still have constant ones. I just thought it was normal because I had perfect vision, and I thought that when you have your vision, you don't get that taken from you. When you have it already, like, hey, you can't lose your vision. Well, I was wrong.
So from the time that you're doing this photography shoot on that particular day, when you asked your second photographer, hey, your assistant, did you capture that last shot? How long does it take before they figure out what's going on?
Oh man, I still had other photography sessions I was shooting. My last official photography session was February 12th, I want to say. And
how long ago? What year?
That was 2019, I want to say. And after I took those pictures, I couldn't even see the couple in the pictures or anything, and I couldn't even make it all the way home.
Wow.
So that's when I was like, okay, this is serious.
So you couldn't see then, but in the very beginning, you mentioned, the beginning of the conversation here, you say that you asked your assistant, did you capture that last shot? So that's kind of like the very beginning of it.
Yeah.
So from that moment until
3 or 4 weeks.
3 or 4 weeks, that quickly.
Yeah.
My God.
Do you remember the last shot you took?
I do. It was at the barn off of 100, and it was right by the Piper School District. And it's crazy because the people that live in the house, one of them is blind, and he walks around with a cane, and that was before I was blind or anything. I just so happened to walk up to the owner and I asked him if I could use his barn to shoot at because I just had a vision in my head and I wanted to use it. And he said, absolutely, go for it. And it was a baby announcement, and I remember I cut off the mom and dad's head, and it was just a little girl, and she was in the snow, and she was holding like the little ultrasound picture. It was so adorable. I loved it. At least I thought it was adorable.
Now, when I just met you today for the first time.
Yes.
And I walked through the door, and I see you sitting here talking to Mr. C's wife, and at first glance, you don't look like you are blind.
Well, what does blind look like?
Correct. And again, I'm not generalizing here.
No, I love that question. That's something I want to start telling people.
Like, I'm a follower of the famous Puerto Rican guitar player and singer Jose Feliciano, who is known in the U.S. for, a lot of people don't know that he's actually an amazing Spanish acoustic guitar player. I mean, worldwide.
He passed away, didn't he?
No, he's still alive.
He's still alive?
No, Jose Feliciano is still alive. Of course, he's known in the U.S. for a couple of things. One, for singing Feliz
Feliz
Navidad.
Navidad.
And also for during the World Series, during the, I believe it was at the Detroit Tigers baseball stadium where he played the national anthem with a Spanish guitar style, and you know he was ostracized for that, and he had won the Grammy for singing "Light My Fire" by the Doors. And when you look at Feliciano, you know he has to wear the dark glasses, and a lot of the people who are blind, and please forgive me for my ignorance, they tend to their eyes.
Rapid movement.
Or they roll towards the back.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at you right here, and my God, you have this amazing eyes, and I say that respectfully, and you have your makeup on, and I'm like, okay, who did your makeup? Who did your hair?
I did. I helped
Mr.
this
Cervantes.
Yes,
Stop
I
it.
did.
Well, thank you. Yeah, there's actually, so I've been learning a lot about the blind and visually impaired. I thought it's just you're blind, you know, but there's actually two different groups. It's like you're blind or you're visually impaired. I always thought the same thing that you guys both said. People with their eyes looking all different crazy and stuff. When I first got sick, I was so scared of what my eyes looked like. My parents actually bought me these glasses because I was so insecure. And they were these dark black glasses, and they were Bose ones that you could click a button and I could just listen to music. So because people drive me crazy sometimes, like hearing all the sounds and stuff. So I just turn on music and I wear these glasses. And then when I wear those, people really think like, oh yeah, she's definitely blind.
And you know that's the vision that we have of someone being blind. You know the glasses, the dark glasses. You know head movements and things like that. And with you, we don't see that.
Yeah.
You know, we don't. So to someone that doesn't know you, they'll be like, she's not blind. She's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
Look at her eyes, the movements, and you know, how you get around and things like that. You know, but I know that throughout this process, you lost your vision, but you gain other things, right?
So, like Mr. Cervantes said, you lost your eyesight, and you said that all of a sudden it's like loud sounds started to bother you. Now, is it that now your other fine motor skills, like your sense of smell, your hearing, your sense of touch, do they start kind of like compensating for that?
Absolutely. The sounds is a huge one. Like everything is so loud, and I feel so bad because I feel just bad for my kids because they should be able to be kids and be loud, not necessarily be loud, but you know what I mean. And I'm over here like, oh my goodness, please quiet down or quit running around because all the movement is really killing me. But I just try and suck it up, you know? It's just kind of a lot.
Are we too loud for you?
Heck no.
Okay, I don't want you to like, you know.
No, I'm talking like screaming and yeah.
Okay, so now the doctors tell you, you go to KU, and right a couple of weeks into this process at KU, they found out that you have this disease that has taken over your eyes.